Hey brethren, good to see you again. Welcome back to the Forge for another Forge Works video. The last one we did, I was in my service vehicle. Now we're doing this one before work, so I'm at home. So we praise God, and we just pray that all is well with you. Before we get started, I just want to do a couple of quick announcements and a quick promos, I guess. We have our International Men's Bible Study. If you're watching this on the website, and if you're not, I encourage you to check our website out. It's www.poweredbychrist.us. If you click on the Coals of the Flame logo, which, here's my mug here. If you click on this logo on the website there on the front page, you'll be taken to the Coals of the Flame Men's Ministry. You can, obviously, you feel free to check out anything on the page, but that's where we're at, the Coals of the Flame. And Enter the Forge. After the front page there, you read it. At the bottom, you click on the Enter the Forge. That's where you'll see this video. And that's where you'll see a lot of. We have blogs there. We also have our forums that you can sign up for, and you'll see a forum tab on the main page that you can sign up for. So those are just those quick things. Now, if you're watching this on the website, then you already know this. And if you click on the Events tab, you'll see the upcoming events. Now, the next event that we have is going to be our International Men's Bible Study. Now, you need to check, if you could, the Events tab to get the next meeting date. It's bi-weekly. It's every Monday, or not every other, it's every other Monday, bi-weekly, and it's at 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would be 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. East Africa Time. So, and the reason for those of us in Eastern Standard Time, the reason why it's that early for us is because it is in the PM time for those who are in Kenya. And most of our viewership and our participants are in Kenya. So that's, we're kind of catering to that a little bit. So I know it's a little different for some of us on this side of the world that are in this time zone. If you can make it, that'd be wonderful. If you can't, it's okay. There's other ways you can participate. We have every first Friday our Facebook Live event at the same time, 12:30 p.m. To 1:30 p.m. EST. If you can, and we're live, so you can always go back. If you can't watch it, then you can watch it later. We encourage you to watch and participate. The website is here. For you to actually add to the forums, post your questions, your comments, your concerns in the forums. You check out, you can go to the Forge, and actually this video will be on the Forge, in the Forge, which is on our website, www.poweredbychrist.us. Check it out there. So those are just a few quick announcements. Oh, and when you go to the website, if you want to go straight to the Coals of the Flame, you click on the actual Coals of the Flame logo. You go into there, and you'll see our page there, the Coals of the Flame Men's Ministry page. At the bottom, you go into the Forge where you see the videos and all that, if you want to catch up on some videos. Now, this is only video number 2 minus the introduction video, so we're kind of freshly getting this started this year, or revamped this year, and hopefully this launch will be wonderful. The idea is to get all of us together, no matter what our time zone is, what our culture is. We're trying to get together and have a multicultural men's group that can focus on Christ and that can focus on building each other. We're not coming in as experts and the best at this and the best at that. We're coming in as just mere men that serve the living God, that are looking to build each other up. So that's what this is for. Now, enough of the announcements and the plugs and the promos. Let's get into it. So, I was thinking the other day, as I was working, there was a gentleman that I talked with, I was counseling, and he was talking about how hard the Christian walk was and how hard it is for him at home. And I identified with that. It can be a very hard thing to do. But I shared a story with him, and hopefully the story will help you. Now, when I had a yard, and I mean a yard as in like an acre, I had an acre yard, my backyard was an acre. what I used to do, I had a push mower, and I think most of us know what a push mower is. It's a lawnmower that you actually, and I'm saying this because we're international, so I'm making sure everybody understands. It's a lawnmower that you actually hand push. You have to crank it up by hand, and you push it by hand to cut your grass. Well, what I used to do was, it was part of my workout routine. I would go to the gym, I would work out, and I would come home and I would crank up the lawnmower and I would literally run around the yard. And I'm telling you, if you're not sure-footed, I wouldn't recommend that. And if your yard is uneven everywhere, I wouldn't recommend that. I'm not saying to go do that. I did it. It might have been crazy, but it sure helped me a lot for my workout. I mean, I was definitely tired before I got half the yard done, but I was running around the yard pushing that lawnmower. Running around pushing that lawnmower. And I do that every day, or not every day. Every time it was time for me to cut the yard, I would make sure that I went to work out right before that. Now, I worked out, of course, other days, but if you live in Florida, if you've lived in Florida in a place where it rains a lot, grass grows pretty quick in the summertime. So that was a perfect time for me to do that lawnmower routine. So at least twice a week, maybe once a week at least, one of my workouts would end in me running around the yard with the lawnmower. So now, we used to keep one of my grandbabies when she was little. Actually, it's my oldest grandbaby. When she was little, we used to have her at the house while her mom was working. So she'd be there and she'd be watching Papa at the back door, the screen door in the back. She'd be watching Papa running around that yard with that lawnmower. And at first we didn't know what she was doing, but she'd be running around in the little living room, like running around in circles. You know, she was like a little toddler almost, you know, or just coming out of toddler. But she's running around the living room, and they wondered, why is this girl running around the living room all the time? Every time you're outside, she runs around the living room. Well, she was trying to mimic me, right? So then she got that little toy baby stroller, and she'd run around with that little baby stroller. Then we figured out what she was doing. So I bought her that a little plastic. She was just becoming she was like a new walker. So she wasn't very good at her walking, and her running was a little clumsy. You know how toddlers are. So we bought her this little plastic toy lawnmower, push mower. And that was for two purposes. Number one, for her to have fun with it because she thought she was doing something. And number two, to help her to balance her walking, get better at her walking. So she actually took that thing and ran around. Sure enough, we were right. She was mimicking me. Every time I'd be running around the yard and she was there, she'd see me and she'd run around the living room with that little lawnmower. And her mom said, oh, she does it at home now. She runs around. So, you know, and of course that tickled us. So then one day I'm out there and I get the lawnmower started and mom came home. Her mom came home to get her to the house to get her early. And she came out with her little lawnmower and she went right next to Papa with her lawnmower. Of course, I shut the real one off because I realized what she was doing. So I said, you want to cut with me? So she held that thing and I put my hands on top of her little hands and we went slow, Her little legs are moving really fast, but for me it was slow. We were going around and I was making the noises, and she loved it. And then after we did that for about 5 or 10 minutes, Mom's like, well, we need to go. And I'm like, okay, baby, you need to go on with Mama. And I let her go. And she went to push that lawnmower again like we were doing it. And she just couldn't get it. And she was mad. She was trying to make the noises. She couldn't make the noises like I was making the noises. She couldn't push it like I was pushing it before. And she was getting frustrated and angry and she started crying. And I went back and I picked her up because she fell on the ground. I picked her up and we pushed the lawnmower over to the car. And I did I held her hands and she was so happy. Then she got upset again when I took my hands off and she tried to do it herself. She couldn't do it. What was my point in that story? And by the way, she's 5 now, I think. So 6. So yeah, she still remembers that. Anyway, what was my point in that story? She tried to mimic what I did, which was kind of cool, when you're doing a good thing and they're trying to mimic you. And she didn't realize, she thought that she was pushing that lawnmower on that yard. under her own strength. That's why when I let go, she tried to do it on her own, and she couldn't do it on her own. She kept falling on her face. She kept struggling. She couldn't make the right noises. She couldn't get it to go in a straight line. Why? Because she was trying to do it under her own strength. She thought that when I was helping her, it was her doing the work. But really, it was me. I could have done it without her. But I slowed down to do it with her. I slowed down to guide her and let her be a part of the process. I slowed down so I wouldn't drag her behind me. You see what I'm getting at now? God is more perfect than I will ever be. And we'll always be the little toddler to God. So when we do things under God's strength, sometimes we think that it's in our strength. But it's really God, and it's God's strength that we're operating under. It's really God, and it's God's power that we're operating under. And when we try to move without God is when we fall on our face and we stumble. And you know what? When we're moving with God, if we fall on our face and stumble, He's right there to pick us up. When we're moving with God, He's always watching. And when we try to move without Him and we stumble, all we have to do is give it up and let Him take us to the right place. God is the one who is doing all of this stuff. He does bigger things than we can do. So in our little tiny little minds, sometimes we think we're doing so much, but we're really not. Let God do it. Let God guide us. Let Him lead us. Don't try so hard. Let God show you, and then you do the best you can with what God gives you. But we have to remember that we do everything that we do in God's strength, not our own. It is not us. If we could, then Christ would not have died on the cross. So when we're at home, let's do the best we can for our families, but let's do the best we can under the authority of God, and don't do anything apart from God. Easier said than done, but just remember, when you find yourself pushing your mower by yourself, your little toy by yourself, and you start falling on your face, remember that all you have to do is stop and let God pick you up and let God guide you. God bless you.